Today, we bring you part two of an interview with one of Ottawa's hottest tech companies, Rewind. I speak with its CEO about how keen investors were to invest in this company and what it's like to have these strategic investors now on board. Coming up on Techopia Live. Hello, I'm Michael Curran. Welcome to another episode of Techopia Live. I'm supplementing the work of our regular host, Sherry Ask. I'm doing a series of conversations at year end, looking at some of the most intriguing tech companies in Ottawa. And I think we're talking to, once again, one of the hottest tech companies in Ottawa's tech scene these days. I'm referring to Rewind, and please welcome its co-founder and CEO. Here is Mike Potter.
Hey,
Welcome
Michael.
back, Mike.
Thanks. Great to be here.
I appreciate you being with us again. In our first part, we really dug into the backstory. We got to understand the growth story as well for Rewind. In this episode, we want to get into some of the financial success you've had more on the fundraising side. So twice in fact in 2021, Mike, you guys announced some venture capital deals. Do you want to walk us through those from a total amount raised?
Yeah, we raised a $15 million Series A round and then followed that up about 7 months later with a $65 million Series B round that was led by Insight Venture Partners out of New York and Innovia as growth fund out of Montreal and Toronto.
Mike, let me just ask, why two rounds in the same year? Why did one have to come kind of hot on the heels of the other?
It's just a lot of demand for the shares of the company. Honestly, there was a lot of inbound interest after our Series A. I think we've generally run the business so that we've been raising as little money as possible, and so the stage of business was far more advanced for every round that we had raised at. So our A was more like what companies would raise at a B. Our B was more like what companies would raise at as a C. Um, just because we essentially bootstrapped it or raised very, very little capital up until that point. But there's just a ton of demand out there. The company was executing extremely well. Growth rates were really strong. The fundamentals of the business are really great because we didn't raise a lot of capital in those first few years that we were in business. And so the fundamental SaaS metrics that you would look at are really, really strong with Rewind. And so that obviously generated a lot of interest in the A round, which then spilled over into the B round. Just a ton of interest, ton of capital that's out there that's looking to get deployed. And obviously, we wanted to take advantage of the growth opportunity that we see in front of us.
I'm hearing you on the level of interest in Rewind in the investment community. Can you walk us through the process, maybe of that the most recent round? Was it difficult? Did it take long? Just give us a little bit of the story behind that.
Yeah, the second one, so the B round that we raised, we weren't actually looking to raise. Like I said, we had just raised our Series A. We had initially, we had really good interest right after raising that A, and we had no interest in raising it. We had a lot of money that was still in the bank. We hadn't even really started spending the A round, and yet, we had inbound offers that were coming in from an investment perspective. And so the process wasn't really like a typical fundraising process. We didn't talk to a whole lot of companies. We had inbound interest. We I think we declined 2 or 3 term sheets, and then started to realize that we need to be a bit more serious about what we were looking for from an investor. And so we started putting some certain parameters on, what we were looking to raise and what the valuation was, and we started getting ready to run a process that would probably be running right now, actually. Um, but Insight Venture Partners came in a little bit early in that process, gave us a really great offer. Obviously, we really wanted to work with them, right? I mean, they have a ton of experience in the SaaS backup space. They've invested in a company called Own Backup that does backups for SaaS. They've invested in a company called Veeam that does backups for virtual machines and is expanding into SaaS backups. They've invested in Kaseya, that's a managed service provider, a software company for managed service providers. So like they have a ton of experience in the space. They've got a ton of experience with SMB software, which is our target market. They're a well-known tier A investor in the US. And so when they came to us and gave us this really great offer, it was it was really like the partnership that we had been looking for the whole time. I mean, obviously we really enjoy working with Innovia and had worked with them, for about 9 months to that point. But when Insight came, we just felt like they were the best partner that Rewind could possibly look for. And so we didn't need to really run a process because we had sort of found our match in heaven really, really early in it.
An offer you couldn't refuse, as they say. And maybe it had no impact on you, but I just wanted to talk about the pandemic as it might have influenced fundraising. If we were to go back, I don't know, 2018, 2019, and say the world's going to shut down and you'll still be able to raise more than 80 million US in a given year, some people would have shook their heads and said that's not possible. Did the pandemic, in fact, impact the process?
Uh, it impacted the process positively, right? Which is in the A round, we met with, I think we calculated over 100 different VC firms for our
Wow.
A round. Like it was insane. It was just constant Zoom meetings, Zoom meetings. In fact, like the amount of people that we met with would not have been physically possible. It's not physically possible to meet with that many people because if you add in travel time and you wouldn't be able to actually meet with that many people. So for us, the pandemic was fantastic because we could just on Zoom meet with investor after investor after investor, try and get to know them as well as we could. And we ended up in that A round again with a very competitive round where we had multiple offers and multiple investors that we could select from. And we were able to pick what I think was the best partner that Rewind could possibly find, which was through the round led by Innovia, which worked out extremely well for us. So the pandemic certainly helped. I think it definitely changed the process. And it's certainly strange, right? Like we didn't meet the team at Innovia. We didn't meet them until actually about a month ago when we went to Montreal to finally have a
Interesting.
celebratory dinner. But we had never met them in person. And it is a bit strange to have raised, let's say, 100 million Canadian without ever having met somebody or shaken their hands or gone out to dinner with them in person. So it's definitely an interesting time, I think, to be raising money.
And hopefully from a work-life balance, we referred to you doing some coaching for your kids and that hopefully keeps you at home more often, right?
Right. Yeah. I haven't traveled. I actually don't remember the last time I traveled. Well, actually, I remember the last time I traveled was for March break, right as the pandemic started. That
2020,
was
yeah.
actually, yeah, that was the last time I was actually in an airplane. So, yeah, I mean, it's been, obviously provides a really great work life balance so you can get so much done over Zoom.
Good stuff. And we're going to talk about how you're going to be using that money. Before I do that, I just want to pause for a second and recognize the sponsor of this episode, TD Bank. TD's relationship team is committed to your business. They take the time to understand your business and provide banking solutions that can help you achieve your business goals. A dedicated local team allows for deeper customer relationships and better service. They take the time to learn about your business and industry so they can react to changes in the marketplace and anticipate your business's evolving banking needs. Your relationship team can also connect you with other specialists at TD to help move your business forward. And once you're up and running, TD continues to actively manage your relationship, looking for ways to help grow your business. Learn more at tdcommercialbanking.com. So, Mike, we were just talking about this, I think, incredible amount of money that you've raised in 2021. To me, it's a number that we haven't seen in Ottawa for a very long time. Tell us, how are you going to use this capital to further your business goals?
There's lots of ways that we can grow this business. I mean, the immediate action is to just back up more platforms, right? We talked about the goal of the business being to back up every SaaS platform that exists. And so there are other platforms that we are going to be launching support for in the very near future. And obviously, a lot of that capital is going to support that growth and hiring engineers that are needed to build the technology to back up those platforms, product marketing, product management people, customer support people. I mean, really the company is growing in every business aspect there is. So we're hiring really as quickly as we can. When the pandemic started, I think we were 35 people. We're currently about 115 or 120 people, adding people literally every day, and trying to hire as many engineers as we possibly can. So, really growing the number of platforms is key for us. And then obviously expanding on the current partnerships that we have with Shopify, with BigCommerce, with Intuit and QuickBooks, with Atlassian and Trello, and some other products that we're going to announce shortly. And then obviously Microsoft with GitHub. We want to improve those partnerships, and see what else we can get from them. But that's really the sort of the two main strategies in the near term: is grow the number of platforms and then increase market penetration on the platforms that we're currently on.
And I'm sure, like any company, you're facing all sorts of barriers. You referred to hiring just a second ago, but can you walk us through some of the things that are potential barriers to growth that you're actively looking to overcome at this point?
Yeah, I think hiring honestly is one of the biggest challenges that we have these days, and trying to find engineers that are able to work on Rewind. When we first started, we like to say that we really just wanted to get bought by Shopify. That was really the initial goal, was build a Shopify app and then hopefully work for them. So we built our technology stack in the same technology that Shopify is built on, which is a great strategy when you're trying to work there. Not a great strategy when you're trying to compete for the same talent that they are. I know FullScript uses the same computer language, right? Ruby on Rails. So there's a bunch of really very fast growing companies in Ottawa that are all built on the same technology, that are competing for the same developers. So we've obviously had to go remote friendly and hire people wherever we can find them. We have people that are located in almost every province in Canada. We've got a few people that are in Europe as well, and we're growing a team there. So challenge is really, it's really honestly, it's how fast can we grow? How many engineers can we bring on? There's just a ton of opportunity for the business to grow. Finding the people that can help us take advantage of that opportunity really is the number one challenge. And then on top of that, there's just challenges with growing as fast as we're growing, right? I mean, there's process challenges internally, communication challenges, setting up businesses in Europe, and entities in Europe to be able to hire there. Just regular sort of growing your business challenges that we encounter, that we've encountered actually since we first started the business.
We've got two quick questions, and I'll let you go, Mike. I appreciate all the time you're giving us here. It's interesting in our discussions, and maybe it just hasn't been brought up. We haven't talked a lot about sales and marketing. So, your sales are like a hockey stick. You referenced them before. Can you explain to people how you're achieving that level of revenue growth?
Yeah, I think, it comes down to allowing people to buy the software without having to talk to sales in a lot of cases, and then inserting a sales process when the customer asks for it. So you can come onto Rewind, you can sign up for the product. There's no need to talk to anyone. But if you want a custom contract, if you're working with larger deal amounts, if you have some legal changes that need to be made to our terms and conditions, we have a great sales team that's going to step in, that's going to help walk you through that process. But it's up to you to kind of raise your hand and say, yeah, I want to be put through a process. And we think that's very much aligned to how people want to buy these days, that they don't want to be put through a sales process if they don't want to. It also allows customers to sign up without ever talking to somebody, which allows just a tremendous, amount of growth, because it's not limited to how many people we can talk to. It's just limited to how many people find out about the service and sign up for it. So
So
the
what I heard
sales
there is, like,
process,
really reduce the sales friction and just let people go through and credit card and
yeah,
bing bang
exactly,
boom.
right. Yeah,
So
how fast can they go through that process is really the massive limitation.
yeah, good point. And a final question, and then we'll wrap, Mike. So we're talking in late November 2021. If I were to fast forward suddenly and we were speaking to each other a year from now, what do you think you will have achieved in 2022? I know you've probably referenced a few of those things.
Yeah, Rewind's goal is to double the revenue year over year. So, we're currently doing somewhere around 10 million. So we should be somewhere around 20 million. When you're doubling revenue at that size, you're probably doubling headcount. I think we're, like I said, we're about 120 people. So you're looking at a company that's probably 250 to 300 people a year from now, completely distributed teams that are in Europe, supporting, over a dozen platforms for sure by the end of next year, with we're already into the tens of thousands of customers. I'm not sure we'll get to 100,000 customers by the end of next year, but we'll be into the sort of 50,000 customer range.
Well, that sounds very ambitious, and we wish you complete success in that. Mike, thanks for all the time today, and thanks for joining us. Bye bye.
Thanks, Michael.
As we wrap up today, let's recognize some of our Techopia sponsors. Techopia is brought to you by many great sponsors, such as Number Crunch, offering virtual CFO services for SaaS companies, Pearlie Robertson Hill and McDougall, a leader in business and technology sector law, TD Bank, specialized programs for technology companies, the University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. Techopia is not only a podcast, we post new articles daily at obj.ca/Techopia. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can find Techopia at Techopia OTT. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe and click the bell icon. Thanks very much to Mike Potter for joining us today. He's, of course, the co-founder and CEO of Rewind. What an exciting company to watch in 2022 and beyond. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. Please stay safe and please stay connected to OBJ and Techopia. Bye-bye.